Yeah, this is a long time coming. I'm kind of curious what happens after Final Shape is out. Like they've said that they want to continue the story past the light arc, the story of the dark and lightness. Um, but I'm curious what they would have you do out there. Like they've already set up kind of loose end, like threads that they've not tied yet, like the Aphelions, stuff like that. So I'm curious if they'll what they're going to do with the story. But I also, the pessimistic side of me thinks they're not going to do much because they have Marathon coming out, and it's going to be released sometime within the next 2 years, which is going to lead up into like the end of Destiny. And I kind of see if I kind of the pessimistic side of me kind of sees if Marathon does well, they will stop development and the Destiny will kind of become a back burner and phased out because they wanted it to be a 10-year thing. It's been more than 10 years now. So I kind of feel like the timing of Marathon being announced and its development cycle is too closely, perfectly timed with the final shape, which is supposed to be not supposed to be the final DLC, but it is the final story DLC of this whole arc they've been doing for 10 years, which they've been so disjointed with it and had to, so many behind the scenes restarts. Like Destiny 1 was like pretty much finished before they scrapped everything and restarted the story, which is the reason why Destiny 1 was such dog crap when it came out. Like the dark Heart of Darkness being the final boss made no sense. It was basically just a amorphous blob, and that was your big bad god. And they rewrote that to later be an imitation of crap. I forgot what that stupid ball is. The Codex or whatever it is that they revealed in the last DLC. But but yeah, they were just you can tell that they had some like rough assets, but they didn't have a polished idea going in because they just retconned so many things that you kind of you it just smacked of unfinished. But yeah, live service games are kind of like this generation's MMO. Everybody, once World of Warcraft came out and was making billions of dollars, they I remember it was a subscription to play World of Warcraft. I think it might still be, but $15 a month for a subscription. This is back before subscriptions were really a thing. And you pay a subscription for ABC channel. They got their own subscription now. It's just subscriptions are everywhere nowadays. But this was back before that was really a thing. And to pay a monthly service fee for a video game, unheard of. And so when everybody came in and started making their own MMOs, most of them, if not all of them, I think there's 3 MMOs that are still around. Most of them are dead, and most of them died within the first year of release. And those were expensive games to make. Like it was insane how much. Like that's one thing they don't realize when trying to make an MMO is that World of Warcraft was multiple years of other games story development being packed into one world, and then it was expanded upon. And MMOs were kind of like the live service before live service was a thing. And just like with World of Warcraft, Destiny came out with its live service. Basically, a minimum viable product was the strategy, to where we don't have to make a masterpiece, we just have to make enough, was the attitude. And even if people are mad, as long as they're engaging, that's good. Indifference is the death of your game. Anger is pretty closely tied to love and attention, and with live service games. So every stupid game nowadays is going through the same growing pains of, we have a live service game and games are going to be a service forever. Instead of it being a product, you're going to pay a fee. And just and that's what so many markets are trying to do. That's why every stupid house is being bought by like 3 big companies, is because they don't want anybody to own shit. They want people to pay access to stuff. So that's what they're trying to do with that. But live service games suck. They all suck. Like certain stories aren't conducive to live service games. Like you have to have, like Destiny has a huge arcing story, an epic of, kind of like Fellowship of the Ring type stuff, where we're going on this journey that's leading to this huge climax. And so many other games like Kill the Justice League, their stories aren't live service stories. They're short, beat the bad guy type stories. And people are forgetting to include the epic adventure, the giant arc story that is required for a live service game. Like Destiny, Bungie has kind of like stumbled through figuring out the strategy to a good live service game. You have to keep people guessing, you have to foreshadow. Foreshadowing is live service's best friend. Darkness, they didn't even define what the darkness was in the first game. And it took years for them to find, and they didn't even know themselves. That's actually one of the things. You were killed by darkness was just a death screen, like you died in Resident Evil. They didn't even know what it was until, into Destiny 2. And that mystery is what kept people coming. Like, Oryx is on his way type of thing. And then also the Witness. I mean, it took him multiple years to get here. And, he was in the solar system back in like 2017. And it took him like 3 or 4 years to get to Earth from Jupiter. It's like he took forever to get there. And in the meantime, they had so many happenings and many stories going on, and his presence was felt throughout all the other bad guys. And it was a really good way to kind of implement the live service and to keep people coming back. But other games like Justice League, Kill the Justice League, where the title of your game and even all the marketing was about killing the Justice League. They've turned evil and stuff like that. How are you going to kill Superman? And then they answer that within the first release of the video game. Like, that's not even the live service part. That's just the campaign. And nobody likes that. I don't know if I stopped streaming or if my phone died or what, but my camera went off for some reason. Hold on, guys. Got no camera. Why isn't this working? My camera's not working for some reason. I guess my camera's not working. Well, that's kind of annoying. Let me restart my phone. Hold on. But yeah, to do a live service game is a tricky thing. And I feel like they fail so many times. They don't understand how to keep people's attention for very long. And that's where a lot of these games fail, is with the story. The story really has to compel people. And you can't have enough story. Like, there is not going to be enough story. There was never enough story in Destiny. And you always ran out of stuff to do. And a lot of players would go away. And that's just kind of part and parcel to live service games. You're going to have ebb and flows of player count. And there was not enough releases. There was not enough story content. Each release had probably like 2 weeks of things to do, and each new activity, and there's only so many iterations you can do on shooting aliens in the face before it just kind of becomes the same activity over and over again. So we're trying to find out that sweet balance of activity, story, and gameplay, interest, to keep people's interest for so long is so hard to do, because a lot of people are like me. The weirdos that play the same game for years, like the Escape from Tarkov streamers, I don't know how they do it. To be able to play a game for years, the same game, like, that's torturous to me. Like, that's why, like, I look at some streamers and I'm like, that's actually a job. Like, it's a mindless, boring job, which is most jobs. It's like working on an assembly line, putting nuts on bolts. It's the same boring, monotonous thing. I can't do that. I'd blow my brains out. It's like having to play the same game forever. Can't do it. And to hold interest is super hard for video game developers. But that money, they see people, like the same thing with NFTs. They see that money, that easy money, the huge sums of money, and everybody gets a bug up their ass to like, oh, well, we can do what they're doing. And so everybody did NFTs. NFTs are a lot different than a video game because they were just empty cash grabs, which now that I say that, actually, a lot of video games are kind of like NFTs. They're just empty cash grabs. But it just requires, it just takes everybody seeing that cash money, that big bump, and everybody wants to try to do it. And that's this generation's big, exciting thing is live service. And that's also a lot of the reason why is because they can use the same assets. Having to create new shit for the new game, new animation, new art, new all that stuff is so, like, art is most of the cost of a video game development, art and people. And provide, like, having to pay for that over and over again on a new video game when you're not even sure if this video game is going to be successful. You kind of understand why developers want to do things like live service games, but they're just not prepared to do it right. They take the Vegas look at how things are done, like same thing with World of Warcraft, and they just try to copy it, and it doesn't work. Like, it's the vague, the things that they really don't see, the covert things that Bungie and Blizzard did, that is the reason why they were successful. Blizzard had decades worth of fanship of Warcraft, which was a it was a wargaming game. I can't remember a strategy game with compelling characters and all that stuff. And they had multimedia. They had books coming out with it. So it was this whole, universe of fanship that they released alongside their games. This is the reason why World of Warcraft was so successful. And Bungie, although they were late with it, they also started releasing that. But they also had a compelling world. If you're going to have a live service game, you need to have a compelling world for people to want to visit. It's not just it's not just a visit, it's to live in, basically. To where other video games, single shot video games, are more like, oh yeah, I came over here to this person's house, we had a party. Live service games are like, I'd like to move to this neighborhood.